This is going to be a pretty harsh start to the video. Before I get to today's video, I need to spin my wheel to select the October winners. So I have enough to spin the wheel twice. Each winner is going to get the Barton 1792 flight, and then you get to choose 6 2-ounce samples of anything else that I reviewed in the month of October. Just a reminder, this is my very last giveaway that I am doing through the Super Chat experience through YouTube. I'm now transferring everything over to Patreon. I'm still doing giveaways. I'm still doing higher tier curated flights that I'm sending out twice a year or 4 times a year, depending on the flight that you end up choosing. So let's go ahead and spin the wheel for the first time, see who the winner is for October. Holy cow, is that loud? Sorry, let me turn that down. I don't know if that'll get you guys going for a little bit. The first winner for October is TA1971. TA1971. I have an email, and this is a first-time winner. I have an email address down below underneath the rules to the giveaway, fospeed@yahoo.com. Do me a favor, send me an email. We'll get all hooked up, and we'll figure out what it is that you want. Let's go ahead and spin the wheel a second time. See who the second winner is. Second winner, we got Kevin Dirks. You know, this is absolutely crazy. Cash 3 and Steve Hicks, both of you guys have been, over the course of the last 3 months, have been by far the most consistent contributors. And I'm shocked that a randomized wheel with you guys having, 30 entries, that your name doesn't get picked. But Kevin Dirks, another first-time winner. Again, my email address is in the description underneath the rules. Send me an email. We'll get you guys all hooked up. I'm also throwing in an extra bottle into the giveaway. So not only are you getting the Barton 1792 flight automatically included in there, 2-ounce samples of those 6 bottles. Choose 6 more 2-ounce samples of anything that I reviewed in the month of October. And then we will figure out what kind of bourbon or scotch you guys are interested in, and I'll throw in an extra bottle as well. I look forward to hearing from everybody. Now let's go ahead and get on to today's video, which is the Bardstown Bourbon Company Double Barrel Discovery Series number 13. Congratulations, everybody. Welcome to Whiskey's the Journey. My name is Peter Fasano. Today is Monday. I have a bourbon review coming at you. Today we're looking at the Bardstown Bourbon Company Double Barrel Discovery Series number 3. Just like always, we're going to pour it, nose it, taste it. I'm going to talk a little bit about the mash bill. I'm going to add some water to it, and then if you stick around until the very end, we're going to give this thing a score. All right, so really quick, the stats on this, there's too much to mention, so I'm just going to go ahead and put it right here. But this is coming in at 110.8. Is that what it is? 110.8 proof. It is a double barrel product. And I think this is going for 130 something, but I think I paid $142.99, 750 milliliter bottle, and I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, if you don't know. Now, the Discovery Series, I think in the past, their blend has been a component of like Kentucky and some Tennessee. And I think the last 3 series, 13, 12, and 11, have all been Kentucky, if my memory serves me correct. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments down below. So on the nose, this comes across as very sweet. The sweetness that's coming through, I would say, is a fruit sweetness, not like a sugar or a cotton candy sweet. The fruit, I would say that it's a little bit lighter fruit, maybe some stewed fruits, some pears, a little bit of apple. But there is definitely also that, really strong traditional bourbon note with the caramel, vanilla, and the brown sugar. And those notes are pretty dark. But the sweet fruit notes, I would say a little bit lighter fruit. I don't typically get light fruits in bourbons. They're usually darker, like a raspberry, a cherry, or a strawberry. I'm not getting that in here. That's why I'm kind of leaning towards apple and pear. If I'm pressed, maybe even some peach. Yeah, it smells really good. But again, those bourbon notes are definitely going to be the dominant note. All right, let's go ahead and get this thing on the palate. Cheers, everybody. All right, so that packs a punch, a huge flavor punch. Everything that I'm getting on the nose is certainly coming through on the palate. It is just bursting with brown sugar, caramel, vanilla, the stewed fruits. I'm starting to salivate a little bit and trying to talk my way through this. Good amount of oak, and there's a good spice in here too. I wouldn't say that it's very balanced as far as sweet and spice. I think the sweetness is a little bit stronger, but it's not necessarily over the top. And there is a good amount of spice that kind of backs in and fills a gap of what that sweet has on the palate. I'm not exactly positive on the influence of the Hungarian oak. The double barrel here is American white oak and a Hungarian oak, and I'm not sure exactly the Hungarian oak side of things, like what does that bring to the table. I'm going to be talking about the wood influence here in a little bit, but I'm not exactly sure, like I had mentioned, what Hungarian oak brings to the table as far as influencing or impacting the bourbon. Tell you what, that first sip and the sips that I've had with this, every time I have this, I like it more and more. All right, let's go ahead and get a second sip in, add a little bit of water, and then talk about the blend and the two different woods that are used here. All right, second sip. All right, I'm not getting a whole lot different on that second sip, but it is a little bit more spice forward. I've got some good cinnamon. There is definitely some more oak presence. I think that spice is now caught up with the sweet. So on that second sip, it does seem to be pretty balanced. The oak is definitely setting in underneath the tongue, which is always good for me. It doesn't get to the point where it's bitter or it's drying. It just kind of sits there, latches on, and lingers. Pretty nice finish, long finish. Sweet, spicy. Sweet, I would still say that it's in the lighter fruit category. The apples, the peaches, the pear, stewed fruits. I'm not getting any dark red fruits, but I am getting a really intense bourbon note, vanilla, brown sugar, and caramel, like I had mentioned before. Again, I have also said this in multiple videos. The spectrum of flavors that I'm getting from bourbon these days is not very wide. They're very narrow, but the intensity of those flavors that I'm getting from this bottle is making this or elevating it higher than a typical bourbon. And I like that very much. They're deep, intense, rich flavors. And that finish is nice and oaky, and it's going on forever. Well, not forever. Forever is a long time. It's a long finish. All right, so what I'm going to do, add a little bit of water here, and then I want to talk a little bit about the mash bill and what they're doing with the blend. All right, so I don't really pay attention to distilleries and the distillery mash bills. I know that each one has like a specific mash bill. So what I've heard or looked at when I did a little bit of research, and they don't say this because I don't think they disclose it. I don't know if it's a non-disclosure agreement or if they just don't give information. But the mash bills could be coming from Barton, Beam. I think they're definitely using their Green River. I think Green River is a sister distillery to Bardstown. What is it? Beam, Heaven Hill, Green River, and Barton. Those are the supposed distilleries, but I'm not exactly positive. And they're doing what, 8, 9, and 15-year ages in here? They're taking that blend and they're splitting it into two. 61% is aged for 4 months in the New American Oak, and then the other 39% is aged in the Hungarian Oak. And again, I'm not an expert on this, so please do me a favor and correct me in the comments down below. Some of the popular oaks that they're using: New Charred American Oak, Hungarian Oak, and I think Hungarian Oak is very similar to Chinkapin Oak, which is a southeastern type of oak species in America, and then French Oak. And I think each one of them has a different grain tightness. American White Oak has loose grain, you get faster extraction, and I do believe this is barreled at a lower portion of the rickhouse with the American White Oak because they don't want the extraction to have quite an impact on the finishing. And then the Hungarian oak, I think it has like not as tight grain as French oak, but it's still tight enough where they need to put it in higher up in the rick house to have quicker extraction for that 4 months. So they need to push it along a little bit further by putting it further up in the rick house. Also French oak, and I believe French oak has the tightest grain. I think it goes French, Hungarian, and then American white oak. And then each one of those barrels has a different influences, flavors. I think you get more of the vanilla in the American white oak. And then the further up you go, I think the Hungarian oak gives you a little bit more spice, a little bit more dried fruit, a little bit of cinnamon. And then you get to the French oak, and I think the dryness starts to come in a little bit. And then you also do get more intense dried fruit, and the spice is elevated. That's kind of what I got from my research. If any of that is wrong, if you have anything else to add, let me know in the comments down below. All right, so let's go ahead and see what the water has done to this. Hopefully that was enough time for it to do its thing, and then we'll get to scoring this. On the nose, I think there's a little bit more of a cinnamon note and a little bit more oak that's coming through. And that's typical for me. Anytime I add water to a whiskey, the water-soluble particles and the non-water-soluble particles separate, and what comes across to me is a little bit more oak and a little bit more spice. Not always, but sometimes. All of the original notes are here, so I don't think anything has really dramatically changed by adding water, with the exception of a little bit more spice and a little bit more oak. Let's get it on the palate. So with the amount of water that I added, I don't think that really damaged the profile. It has brought out a little bit more oak and a little bit more spice, but I think all of those rich notes are still there. That little bit of water doesn't damage or influence it all that much. Yeah, I like this quite a bit. Stewed fruits, brown sugar caramel, vanilla, spice, oak. The level of intensity of all of those notes are also there, so it kind of elevates this above an average bourbon. So moving on to the score. If you're new here, I rate everything out of 5 stars. And before I give this a score, if you are new here, I have a Patreon account. The link to the Patreon account is in the description down below. If you're interested in supporting the channel, do me a favor, check that out. Look through the tiers, pick one that suits you if you feel like it, and let's get on to the score. Because of all of those intense flavors that I was talking about, I don't think this really changes in the glass. I don't think it really changes on the palate. I think what you're getting stays consistent from the arrival to mid-palate to finish. That long finish also adds to the enjoyment or adds to the experience. And even though it doesn't really change and develop into anything new, I'm not like on a roller coaster. I'm just getting hit in the face or the mouth with a lot of good flavors, and those flavors are intense. I'm going to put this at a 3.95. It is a very nice tasting, good tasting, intense bourbon. Let me know in the comments down below if you are familiar with the Discovery series. If you've kept up with the Discovery series, which number or which series release is your favorite? Yeah, so that's where I'm at. I'm at a 3.95. So that's where I'm going to leave it. Wherever you're at in your journey, I hope you're enjoying it. Until the next time, we'll talk to everybody later. Bye.